Hey, what is up, YouTube? Rules for Rebels here. It is week 4 of the Millionaire Fastlane Book Club, and in today's video, we're going to be covering part 4, which consisted of chapters 10 through chapter 15. And these chapters were quite a bit longer than the previous ones. Last week, we covered what sidewalkers are and what the behaviors of sidewalkers are. And this week, we're covering the slow lane, which MJ DeMarco talks about how most sidewalkers eventually kind of graduate to the slow lane. The Sidewalk is basically trading future stability for I want things now, I want 600 cable channels, I want the new cell phone. And at some point, these people kind of wake up and realize, oh, I need to be a little bit more responsible. I'm going to start saving 10 or 15% of my income and investing and things like that. And I think next week we'll be discovering the fast lane. But yeah, a lot of good stuff in here. This is basically what the majority of professionals and people living a middle class life are sidewalkers. So basically, this week I'm going to be treating things a little bit differently. I know in some of the previous ones I've been a little bit long-winded, and I know you guys have read the book yourself, so you don't need me to hit every point in the book. So basically, I'm going to make this video 2 parts. It's all going to be one video, but I'm going to break it into 2 parts. So first, I'm going to cover basically 11 talking points that I thought were kind of the most worthwhile parts of the chapter, or the parts that I got the most out of. And then I also have a breakdown of the entire part 4. So I know that those of you guys who are part of the book club and who are regular viewers of my channel maybe only need these 11 talking points. So if you want to tune out after that, feel free to do so. But I'm sure there's some people out there, either now or in the future, who are going to see this video, who are interested about this book, who want a chapter breakdown, etc. So if you don't want to watch the whole thing, fine. I just wanted to touch on the points. So this section was a lot larger than previous chapters we've covered, and here are kind of my main takeaways from it. So first, unlike the sidewalk, in which there is no financial plan, sidewalkers trade future security for happiness now. Slow laners often start out as sidewalkers, but at some point they get maturity, they decide to be responsible and start following the slow lane. It's, I guess, better than the sidewalk. Because there's a chance at some financial security at the end in your twilight years, if you make it that long. And MJ DeMarco kind of goes on to talk about all the problems being a slow laner, in that you don't control how much you make, your boss does. You don't control how much your investments make, the market does. If you have an illness, if your car falls apart, if you get divorced, all these things can put a wrench in your plan. So I guess the slow lane is more responsible and smarter than the sidewalk, but it's probably not the way ideally you want to live your life. Point number 2, the slow lane is basically all about settling for less and trading in your dreams. He talks about how you give up 5 days a week for 2 days of freedom, and that is a 60% net loss. Basically, if you're frugal, maybe you have some enjoyment, you take 1 vacation a year or whatever, but if you're frugal and all this stuff, at the end of 40 years, you'll, at the ripe old age of 80 something, if you make it that long, since I think the average lifespan is about 74 years, if you make it that long, you'll enjoy your $1.2 million. He talks about how wealth is best to enjoy when you're young, when you're healthy, and when you're vibrant and can get out there and enjoy life. Number 4, with the slow lane, life isn't great, but it's not that bad either. And I think that's why people get stuck there. I've talked a lot in the past about this oasis analogy. So basically the idea being, you're walking through the desert, right? And you're lost and you're thirsty and you're starving, and you come upon an oasis. And there's a tree for some shade, and there's a little, there's just enough fresh water for you, and there's maybe some coconuts on the tree or something like that. And when you're coming out of the desert and you think you're going to die, well, the oasis, is pretty good. You got water, you got some shade. It's not great food, but you got some coconuts to eat. And really, unless that oasis dries up, you're probably not going to leave there. Why? Because you're comfortable. Yeah, you could strike out into the desert and try to find your way back to society and your friends and family and good food and whatever else you enjoy in life. But you're probably not going to leave unless something happens to your oasis. Why? Because you're comfortable and you're scared of uncertainty or what's out there. So I think of the slow lane as being kind of like this. You're comfortable. It's not terrible. It's not great. So you're going to stay there. We've talked about how you almost need a pain point to push you to do something better or bigger. Number 5, if you don't control your income, you don't control your financial plan, and typically you don't control your income if you work for somebody else. Now, yes, some people make more money than other people. A doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, an architect are going to make more money than an office manager or something like that. But again, at the end of the day, you only have so much time to trade for money. And that's really what this chapter is all about, is getting away from trading time for money. And while he didn't really touch a lot on passive income, that's kind of what a lot of this is about, is creating passive income, or finding a way to leverage your time to put in a little bit of time to make a lot more money. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you work for somebody else, you have to ask for a raise. You don't control how much you make. Number 6, slow laners trade time for money. Like we just said, trading time for money will never get you ahead. You have to leverage your time to make more money and to make money passively. With a typical salary or hourly job, you only have so many hours in a day you can work. Your income is capped. And beyond that, what if your skill set, maybe, I don't know, just for example, my girlfriend's father used to be in the printing industry. Well, everything wound up going to like digital printing and things like that. And they didn't need, I don't know exactly what his job was, but they didn't need people to lay out the plates or do the typesetting or whatever else. And his job basically went away. And that can happen to a lot of industries. Also, your industry, your skill set, your knowledge base can become oversaturated with people to the point that it drags down your salary. And even people who go and get MBAs and things like that, at some point, you may be overqualified. Now you can't get a job because you're overqualified for it. Number 7, there's nothing wrong with being free. I really like this point of the book. There's nothing wrong with being frugal. There's nothing wrong with being smart with your money. There's nothing wrong with investing in index funds and things like that. But it should be an element of your plan, not the entire plan. So the slow lane is, go to school, get a job, trade your 5 days of work for 2 days of freedom, and put away a good percentage of your salary and be smart with your money and be frugal, and your money's going to stack up. And that's smart. Even if you're a millionaire, you still want to be smart with your money. You still want to invest. But that's not the entire plan. If you want to be in the fast lane, you're finding a way to leverage your time for more money. You're finding a way that you can make money when you're sleeping, when you're off enjoying holiday, when you decide to take a day off. And so I really like that point, is being frugal and investing is a smart thing to do, and it's something everybody should be doing, but it should be an element of your plan, not your entire plan. Number 8, MJ touches on conventional education. He said he learned more from being an entrepreneur for 2 months than he did in 10 years of schooling. And the best education is doing, the best education is self-education. And it kind of goes back to an earlier point. Remember we said how the sidewalkers are like, oh, education ends at high school, education ends at college. The fast lane people are the ones who are continually trying to upgrade their skill sets, to learn more, not just to make themselves more marketable to employers, because there's nothing wrong with that, but ultimately to find a way to use your skills to make you more valuable so that you can make money on your own, make passive income, etc. Number 9, education isn't really that great of an investment. We hear about how college grads make this much money over their lifetime, or how an MBA will get you this much more money. But how much time have you invested and how much money have you invested up front in getting that MBA that maybe 20 years down the road is going to return that investment for you finally? How many people with degrees and MBAs they spent time and money on are doing jobs that a high school graduate could do? I found myself doing this. I went and got a bachelor's in liberal arts or whatever it was, and well, degrees aren't worthless. They do open some doors. There's a lot of jobs you can't even get an interview for unless you have that piece of paper. But after leaving a corporate job, I wound up getting a job, which wasn't terrible, wasn't great, but I did need a degree to do it. And so what did I spend that 4 years and all that money getting that education for? Again, I from personal experience, I can stress that self-education and the things that you're going to learn on your own, and individual specific skill sets that are going to enable or empower you to make money are so much more powerful than formal education. Not poo-pooing education, not saying it's worthless, but I do think MJ had a lot of good points about education. And then lastly, MJ touches on, or I shouldn't say lastly, we had 2 more points. Number 10, MJ touches on the hypocrisy of gurus. Not make money gurus, like, not make money online through affiliate marketing or whatever, although these points do hold true for that as well. More so financial gurus, Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey, etc. They preach being financially smart, paying off debt, living within your means, investing in index funds, etc. But is that how they got rich? Did Susie Orman make $25 million investing in bonds? Or is she in the fast lane pitching programs? And there's nothing wrong with her pitching programs, but that's not how she got rich. She's being an entrepreneur. She's creating courses. She's creating systems or processes, as MJ talks about a lot, that are going to make her money even when she's not working. And that's how she got rich, not by investing in index funds like she's telling you to do. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with investing in index funds or bonds or whatever else. That's a smart thing to do, but that is an element of a plan. It's a way to preserve wealth, it's a way to grow wealth, but it's not a way to get wealthy. And this concept, where basically if you're going to follow somebody, make sure that basically they live their own advice. And that's called the paradox of practice. Are they practicing what they preach? Are they living what they do? And then lastly, number 11, if you don't take control of your life, the whim of the markets, bosses, your industry, etc. will. The slow lane has many dangers which cannot be controlled. And ultimately, I've explained this before, I know in Alex Becker's book, The 10 Pillars of Wealth, which I think Alex Becker kind of based his book in a large part off of this book. He strikes me as somebody who would read The Millionaire Fast Lane, and a lot of the points in it are very similar. You're not saying he plagiarized or anything like that, but I do notice a lot of similarities. Basically, Alex Becker gives a great analogy of if you're going to put a new roof on a house, if one contractor says it's going to take 2 days and another contractor says it's going to take 30 days, which do you think is less likely to have rain or problems? Well, the shorter one, of course, because there's less that can go wrong in a short period of time. So that was kind of my biggest 11 takeaways from chapters 10 through chapters 15, part 4 of the Millionaire Fast Lane. So that is going to be the end of this chapter for those of you guys in the book club. If you want to hang on while I read the entire chapter summary here, we're probably going to wind up going another 20 minutes here. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a chance to dip out. I know you guys have read the book, you know all this stuff. But for those people who are maybe looking for kind of a cliff notes of this book or want the entire chapter broken down, I am going to continue moving on here. For those of you guys who are tuning out up to this point, drop a comment below. Let me know what your your top 3 points or top 5 points of this chapter are. If you have any analogies or personal life lessons or anything that go along with this chapter, drop a comment below. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And for anyone who wants to tune out right now, I will catch you on the next video. For those of you who want to stick around, we'll be moving on to cover chapter 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Okay, guys, so for those of you guys who want to stick around, we're getting into chapter 10. And chapter 10, I'll also be posting this entire blog post in the description box below if any of you guys actually want to read the entire thing or want to go through the chapter breakdown one by one. And at the end of the book, I think I'm going to make a big compilation video of each week as well as each blog post. So for anybody who wants kind of a cliff notes for the whole book that you can go through pretty quickly, I'll have that at your disposal as well. So it started off with this quote: "What if I told you insane was working 50 hours a week in some office for 50 years, at the end of which they tell you to piss off, ending up in some retirement village hoping to die before suffering the indignity of trying to make it to the toilet on time? Wouldn't you consider that to be insane?" And that is Steve Buscemi, awesome actor, by the way, from Con Air, which that was a good movie. I haven't seen that in a while. Totally off topic, but over the weekend I saw a movie called Into the Wild that was based on a true story. Kind of slow moving and like over 3 hours long, but definitely worth a watch. Kind of about this kid who was kind of fed up with society, and after college, instead of going on to law school, went out to Alaska and lived in the woods and actually wound up dying in the end from eating poisonous plants. But kind of a crazy book and movie. But getting into the chapter 10 quotes and highlights. However, with increased responsibilities, perhaps a growing family, mounting debt, loads, and future expectations not matching reality, the sidewalker comes to terms with the uncertainty of the sidewalk. So we talked about how sidewalkers, don't want the uncertainty once they have a family or whatever else, and they become slow laners. The plan is failure because the plan is based on time and factors you don't control. And that's when we talk about the plan of getting a job and saving and investing. Like I said, those should be elements of a plan, but should not be the plan. It's my responsibility to provide for my family, although for that plan to work, I have to rely on others, including my employer, my financial advisor, the government in terms of like keeping taxes low and things like that, and a good economy. Settle for less, give up on big dreams, save, live frugal, don't take unnecessary risks, and one day I will retire with millions. While coupons and other slow lane strategies aren't worthless in a plan, like you said, they shouldn't be the plan. The slow lane as a total plan is the problem, not the slow lane being part of the plan. Have you become so numbed by making a living that the living has been sucked out of your life? And that kind of goes along with like, even if you are making good money, if you're slaving away for a boss you hate, doing a job you hate, waking up every day, going to do something you hate, and you're trading 5 days of work for 2 days of freedom, you're probably going to be miserable and not have a happy life. Friday evenings are glorified because people celebrate the dividends of their trade. 5 days of work bondage in exchange for 2 days of unadulterated freedom. And normally you don't even get to enjoy that freedom, right? You got to mow the lawn, you got to clean the house, you got to, iron your clothes and get ready for the upcoming work week. So you don't even get to enjoy the 2 days of freedom you're supposed to have. Saturday and Sunday is the paycheck for Monday through Friday, and Friday evening symbolizes the emergence of that payment. Freedom for 2 days. The prostitution of Monday through Friday is the reason. Thank God it's Friday exists. On Friday, people are paid freedom in the currency of Saturday and Sunday. He goes on to say that Monday through Friday is prostituted for Saturday and Sunday. While people easily recognize and reject a negative 60% return on their money, they willingly do it with their time. Okay, so while people instinctively know that something is wrong, that they're settling, they've accepted, normal, which is basically trading your life and your freedom and your soul for a paycheck, they've forsaken their dreams for the insane plan of everyone. Throughout the movie, we witness their attempts to escape with perilous consequences. Folks like us just don't get rich playing pro ball, rapping, singing, acting, or entertaining. So we're left with the slow lane of working hard and saving and being responsible. And at the end, hopefully we have a secure final years of our life. But for the rest of us with big dreams, big goals, and big ideas, it just doesn't cut the mustard. And I'm sure he'll get into this in the fast lane, but the idea, I think a lot of people have a mental block to success that like, oh, normal people like me don't have success. And really, if you find something to do, find a way to add value and just keep plugging away and don't give up, you will reach some level of success. So the chapter summary, fast lane distinctions. The slow lane is a natural course correction from the sidewalk, evolving from taking responsibility and accountability. Wealth is best experienced when you're young, vibrant, and able, not in the twilight of your life. The slow lane is a plan that takes decades to succeed, often requiring masterful political prowess in a corporate environment, basically putting up with work bullshit. Think of the movie Office Space and how miserable he was. For the slow laner, Saturday and Sunday is the paycheck for working Monday through Friday. The default return on your time in the slow lane is a negative 60%, 5 for 2. The 5 for 2 trade inherent in the slow lane is generally fixed and cannot be manipulated because job standards are 5 days a week. And the predisposed destination of the slow lane is mediocrity. Life isn't great, but it's not so bad either. So if you remember from the last part, we talked about how the sidewalk is destination is being poor, basically. Here you're going to be comfortable. Life isn't great, but it's not so terrible either, right? So chapter 11, the criminal trade, your day job. By working faithfully 8 hours a day, you may eventually get to be the boss and work 12 hours a day, by Robert Frost. So chapter 11, quotes and highlights. If you don't control your income, you don't control your financial plan. If you don't control your financial plan, you don't control your freedom. Despite 24 different jobs over the years, I notice nothing changes when it comes to office politics. It's the same story, different people, different day, different office. So I sort of agree with this. I mean, I've worked in some startup environments where the company was somewhat employee friendly. The people you worked, is a funner work environment, but I mean, at the end of the day, working for somebody else is working for somebody else. Chapter summary, fast lane distinctions. In a job, you sell your freedom in the form of time, that is, for freedom in the form of money. Experience is gained in action. The environment of that action is irrelevant. Wealth accumulation is sorted when you don't control your primary source of income. So that was one of my big takeaways, is controlling your primary source of income. If you work for somebody else, you do not control your primary source of income unless you got some kind of side hustle that you're working on. Chapter 12, the slow lane, why you aren't rich. Somebody should tell us right at the start of our lives that we're dying. Then we might live life to the limit, every minute of every day. Do it, I say. Whatever you want to do, do it. There are only so many tomorrows. Michael Landon, which if I'm not mistaken, I think he was the guy from Little House on the Prairie who died of cancer. I'm guessing that was a quote at the end of his life. Chapter 12, quotes and highlights. Intrinsic value is determined by the marketplace and is the price at which you can trade your time for money. And for the hourly worker, your maximum upper limit is 24 hours. And guess what? There's nothing you can do to change this limit. In theory, you can trade 24 hours of your day for income, but you can't trade more. And in reality, you can't trade all 24 hours. You have to sleep, you have to eat, you have to clean your house, take your kids to daycare, whatever else. Chapter summary, fast lane distinctions. Slow lane's wealth is improbable due to the uncontrollable limited leverage, which he calls the ULL. The first variable in the slow lane wealth equation evolves from a job that factors to intrinsic value that equates to your normal value for each unit of your life traded. Intrinsic value is the value of your time set by the marketplace and is measured in units of time, either hourly or yearly. So you're either hourly or you are in salary, but at the end of the day, your boss is dictating what your time is worth. In the slow lane, intrinsic value, regardless of its time measurement, is numerically inhibited because there are only 24 hours in a day for the hourly worker, and the average lifespan is 74 years for a salaried worker. So basically what he's saying here is that if you're working for somebody else, there's only potentially 24 hours in a day. You're probably only going to be able to work. So basically, guys, an example of this would be you work at Home Depot, you make $10 an hour, and they're willing to give you 12 hours a day. The most money you can make in a day before taxes or anything is even taken out is $120. Over the course of, there's only 7 days in a week, so you can make 140 times 7, and there's only 365 days in a year. Whereas if you're in e-commerce or a blogger, you have some type of other business that you're able to scale so that you're not trading your time directly for money. You're putting in a bunch of time up front, so hopefully that system or that process can work for you when you're not working. You don't have to actively be working to be making money. And really, this whole section of the book boils down to passive income. And I was kind of surprised MJ didn't even utter the word passive income once. I'm guessing he's saving that for the fast lane chapter. But yeah, basically this boils down to passive income. Like the slow laner's primary income source, a job, the slow laner's wealth acceleration vehicle is compound interest, and that's also pegged to time. Like a job, compound interest is mathematically futile and cannot be manipulated, so you cannot force feed the market or economy to give you phenomenal returns year after year. Wealth cannot be accelerated when pegged to mathematics based on time. Time is your primordial fuel, and it should not be traded for money. Again, big passive income lesson there. Your time should not be expendable. Your time should not be an expendable resource for wealth because wealth itself is composed of time. Your mortality makes time mathematically retarded for wealth creation. If you don't control the variables inherent in your wealth universe, you don't control your financial plan. So then we move on to chapter 13, the futile fight, education. In this chapter, he kind of talks about how, college grads and MBAs and things like that make more money, but also how much time are you investing in getting that education and how long is it going to take you to pay back that education to where you're actually at in kind of a positive sum game. The only thing that interferes with my learning is my education, Albert Einstein. So chapter 13 quotes and highlights. A survey of college borrowers found that the average college senior graduated with nearly $19,000 in student loan debts, and graduate degree pursuers more than $45,000. A 2007 Charles Schwab survey revealed that teenagers believe when they get older, they will earn an average salary of $145,000. The reality, however, is that adults with a college degree earn an average of $54,000. Unfortunately, the future isn't so bright that you have to wear shades. The truth behind the reality and expectation is at about a $100,000 chasm. This disparity may explain why the debts of our youth have exploded as they bridge their reality to expectation. If I can make $145,000 a year, I can, if I can't make $145,000 a year, I can make it look like I make $145,000 a year. So that's people like over leveraging themselves, living on debt to live a lifestyle beyond their means. And also this may attribute to why people go to college, and not only that, but why people go to expensive colleges, because they expect to get a return on what they're going to make because they're expecting 145 grand, when in reality, the average of them is going to make 54,000. Wealth is, I don't have time. Well, why don't you have time? Because you have a job. Why do you have a job? Because you need one. Why do you need one? Because you have bills to pay. Why do you have bills to pay? Because you have debt. Why do you have debt? Oh yes, because you went to school for 6 years and have 6 figures in student loans. And I actually talked about this. I think I made a video talking about why is college good or bad. And I said college wasn't a total waste, but I also said make it worth your while. Don't set out on some course that's going to cost you $50 or $100 or $150,000 to get educated to then go get a job making 30 grand a year. I was listening to Dave Ramsey a while back. He's kind of one of these financial gurus. And he was talking on the phone with somebody on his show. And he basically, I think they spent $64,000 to go back and get a degree in counseling. And then they're making $24,000 a year. So what is the point of spending all that time, energy, and money on an education that's never going to pay itself back? It doesn't make sense. Chapter summary, fast lane distinctions, slow laners. Slow laners attempt to manipulate intrinsic value by education. Indentured time is time you spend earning a living. It is the opposite of free time. Parasitic debt is debt that creates indentured time and forces work. So, to a large extent here, the more money you need to live, or the more debt you have to pay off, means the longer you're going to have to work. So there is a reason to live frugally. There is a reason to be smart with your money, but again, it shouldn't be the entire plan. Chapter 14, the hypocrisy of gurus. There was a time when a fool and his money were soon parted, but now it happens to everybody. Adlai Stevenson. Chapter 14, quotes and highlights. The Slow Lane Roadmap is sanctimoniously trumpeted by best-selling book authors who dispense financial advice through TV, radio, and books. Think Robert Kiyosaki, which I think he does have some good points, but again, that's not the plan. It's an element of the plan. Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey, who I actually like myself, but again, it should be an element of your plan, not the plan. The strategies they sell are a travesty of grand illusions. Do you seriously think these people are rich from their preachings, or are they selling you the slow lane while they get rich in the fast lane? The rich use markets for income and wealth preservation, not to create wealth. Are they rich because of what they preach or what they sell? Once you're familiar with fast lane mathematics, it should become clear to you the gurus are guilty of the paradox. It is an underlying mathematical equation which governs their teachings, the same ones that made them rich. If the do as I say doesn't match the do as I do, you should be suspicious. In other words, the do as I say matches the do as I do. So if Susie Orman really got rich investing in bonds, well, then you should invest in bonds. But if Susie Orman got rich selling programs and courses telling you to invest in bonds, but she's not actually doing that, then maybe you shouldn't listen to her, or shouldn't take that as a gospel and should just take it as a small part of your plan. Economic recessions expose the slow lane as a risky fraud with lifetime ramifications. And the chapter summary for fast lane distinctions: take advice from people with a proven successful track record of their espoused discipline. Many money gurus often suffer from the paradox of practice. They teach one wealth equation when getting rich in another. They're not rich from their own teachings. And chapter 15, slow lane victory, a gamble of hope. I'd rather live in a regret of failure than live in a regret of never trying. M.J. DeMarco. Chapter 15, quotes and highlights. Life is a menagerie littered with crisis points, which makes a slow lane a roadmap, risky bet that consumes most of your precious assets, time. So if you're working for somebody else, you're never truly going to get ahead. In order for that plan to pay out, even with all the sacrifice and everything has to go right. The markets have to keep up. Your skill has to stay in demand. Your industry has to stay profitable. You have to keep your job. You can't have any, bad health circumstances, no divorces, etc. Any of those things could basically turn you from the slow lane into a ditch. If you assign your retirement onto others, then you accept external risks that you can't control. Slow lane variables. Manipulate intrinsic value by increased work hours. I need to make more money. Manipulate intrinsic value by changing jobs or adding jobs. I need to get paid more. Manipulate intrinsic value by going back to school. I need a better career. Manipulate compound interest by seeking better investment yields. I need better investments. Manipulate compound interest by expanding investments time horizon. I need more time. Manipulate compound interest by increasing the investment. I need to save more. Chapter summary, fast lane distinctions. The slow lane has 7 dangers, 5 of which cannot be controlled. The risk of lifestyle is one risk slow laners will try to control. The slow lane is predisposed to mediocrity because its mathematical universe is mediocre. Slow laners manipulate the expense variable because it is the one that they can control. Exponential income growth and expense management creates wealth, not just by curtailing expenses. You can break the slow lane equation by exploding your intrinsic value via fame or insider corporate management. Successful slow laners not famous or in corporate management end in the middle class, and middle age. Slow lane millionaires are stuck in the middle class. 5 million is the new 1 million. A millionaire cannot live a millionaire lifestyle without financial discipline. Lottery winners fall into the millionaire trap and go broke because they attempt to live a millionaire lifestyle, not understanding that a few million doesn't go that far in this day and age. So that is the part 4 wrap-up of chapters 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. I wanted to thank those of you guys who hung on till the end here. Interested, very interested and excited about next week. Curious to start learning about the fast lane. Curious to hear what your guys' best points, best takeaways, any life experiences that relate to this chapter, etc., that you want to share. Drop it in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button below. We got a few more parts of this book to go. And after that, I think next time around, we're either going to do a Michael Franzese book or possibly an Alex Becker book. If you want to get down on the next book club, if you missed out on this one. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you on the next video.